Hello everyone, it's Jess here from Blooming Crafty. I'm here today with Mr. Mango. So we go live every Saturday on my own Facebook page and we talk about an array of different products and materials. So my business is basically based around flowers and willow products. So we do a lot of kits and workshops and tutorials. And when we can, we try and use as many British products as possible. So feel free to add your comments. Halfway through this demonstration, I will stop and we'll go and answer any questions, and then I'll do the same at the end. I'm going to be demonstrating you a Willow Obelisk kit. So it's a little postal kit, and you get to make a 5-foot high Willow Obelisk. And it's about 12 inches wide when it's finished. So it's absolutely perfect for sweet peas and climbers, and now it's getting up to that time of bedding plants. It's a lovely little project to use in the garden. It could just be used on its own as a garden sculpture. So we try, basically the boxes are sent out to you and we do next day delivery. This is how they come. It's got everything that you need inside, bar a couple of items that I'm going to show you. So it's just tool wise, basic things like a pen, a knife, and some secateurs or scissors. So it's pretty much everything you've probably got in your kitchen. So I've tried to make this as accessible as possible. And please feel free to ask questions and I'll answer them midway through. I hope you're all well. So should we have a look in the box and we'll see what's going on in here. So Mango does like to have a nibble at my jewellery. So if you see him chewing my jewellery, he has a very fantastic skill of taking jewellery off, and he has been a bit of a star of my life. So let's hope that he behaves himself, because they say don't work with animals or children. But he's been good so far on my personal life. But so the box has been designed so that you can use this as the base to create your Willow Obelisk on. You need the depth, so that's why we're in this little box. Believe it or not, we have crammed in quite a lot of willow into this. So let's have a look. It's pre-soaked English willow, and it's from this fantastic company called Musgrove Willow Growers. They are down in Somerset. If you get a chance to go and visit them and you're that way, I would definitely pop in and have a tour. They supply all over the world and are the leading growers for English willow. So in your box, it's been wrapped with some tissue paper. You get some instructions with your kit. So it basically says to keep your kit cool and dry before you use it. So just make sure the best place to put it is in a garage, and providing that your garage is cool, or just somewhere cool and dark. So if you haven't got a garage, you could put it in a bag. Just make sure, like in a bin liner, make sure it's outside in the coolest spot in your garden if you don't have any outside storage places. So there's a little flyer in there just to tell you what to do with your kit, and then you also get an email tutorial that's sent to you. So when you order and on shipping, we will send you the kit and the email at the same time, and you'll also get shipping information. So let's have a look inside. You have some bundles of English willow. So you have these tiny little bundles. You'll probably get about a dozen of them. So this is a 4-foot variety called Black Mull. And then you also get a bigger bundle that's a 5-foot variety. So the tall, long ones, the 5-foot ones, you will be using those as your uprights in your box. So don't get them mixed up. So the best thing to do is that you need to do this tutorial within about 24 hours of getting your box, ideally. If you don't want to do it straight away, you can store your materials, but you will have to re-soak them. So this is the reason why we've tied them in these funny little knots, is so that you can submerge this in your kitchen sink or your bath if you wanted to. And you could re-soak the materials and use it when you wanted to, rather than having the pressure of having to use the materials within 24 hours of receiving them. On our website, if you order this, there are specific dates that you can select for delivery as well. So as you get to the shipping point, you can select dates for delivery. You can also add comments. So if this was a gift for somebody, you could add some comments in there to add a message. Or if the date wasn't available on our website, we only do about a fortnight in advance on the website. But you could add that in the comments and we can adjust your order and delivery wise. So ideally, receive your box and do it within 24 hours. If you can't do it within 24 hours, you will have to soak your willow again. So I would put it all in the bath or the sink for 5 days. So if you've got a big bucket, you know, those big gorilla buckets, they're great. If you've got a spare washing up bowl, that's fantastic. So it's cold water, fully submerged. If you need to put a brick on it or a pan or something heavy on it to keep it all fully submerged, then it will be ready for you in 5 days. So once you've got your materials out and they're soaked or you're ready to use them straight away, you then need to unravel everything. So it'll become clear now the lengths that we've got. These are the 3 to kind of 4 foot lengths. So you'll get anything between 3 to 4 foot. It's also a slightly thinner willow. And so I'm just going to unbundle all of my willow and put it into 2 piles. So I'm going to have my short stuff at the front and then my longer pieces. So it's just tied in this kind of funny knot. We have a bit of a giggle trying to package things here, and who can tie the most bits of willow in knots. And yes, we get some sore knees from trying to make some cram as much into your boxes as we can. So unravel it, be a little bit careful because sometimes it does unpin. You can straighten it out a little bit. Doesn't matter quite so much with your shorter materials. Mango's going to have a little look at my willow now. It doesn't matter quite so much with your short materials if you don't manage to straighten them out completely. But it does matter with your uprights that you're going to use we call them like the stakes. It's sort of a basketry term. So your stakes or your uprights, you need to make sure they're as straight as possible. So when I get to those, I'm going to give you some tips. So there we go. Look at all that. Let me lift that up. You get a good lot of willow in this box. It's quite deceiving, isn't it? And then I'm just going to check your comments before I move on. Right. Hello, everybody. I didn't notice the little bird. Good morning. Mango is a Quaker parrot. So yes, he likes to come live with me. We haven't had him, well, I haven't had him all that long. And he's got a bit of a funny personality. I had my nails done, which I'm sure most of you are making the most of in lockdown now. But for some reason, he doesn't like my nails being painted, and he's not been very happy and has been attacking them a lot. So yes, right, this is my bigger bundle. And so these ones are going to form my uprights. So now, once they're out, we'll go back to that in a minute, because once they're unravelled, then we kind of need to get on. So prepping the box, you also have, so stuck to the bottom of your box, that's a little wire. Now keep this somewhere safe. I'm going to put it in my pocket, because usually if I put it on the table, it gets mixed in with everything when it gets lost. So once you've emptied your box, you need to close it back up. And then this is going to be the base, or the sort of stand, to create your obelisk on. So I had a little look around the kitchen this morning. If you haven't got anything in the kitchen, you can use a tape measure. But we basically need to draw a circle on the top of our box to create the area that we're going to pop the stakes in. So I found, luckily, I had this little cake stand, or cake, it's not a cake stand, is it? The word's disappeared. I had this, it's to pop a cake on. If you haven't got anything like this, I did have some pans that the lids were quite big on. I'm sure you've got things sort of knocking about that you can use. But you need something that's 12 inches across, or is just shy of the edges of your box. So don't go too close to the edge of the box. We're going to make holes, and it's going to make it more difficult if you're right up to the edge. So you could probably do about 12.5 inches if you wanted to. If you haven't got anything round, then you can, oh, maybe didn't like the tape measure there. If you haven't got anything round, you can use a tape measure to draw on sort of roughly a 12-inch sort of cross you're doing, and then you can join it up with your pen and to create a circle. It doesn't matter exactly if it's not quite 12 inches. So yes, I'm not all that precise always. So you can make it slightly bigger as well if you want to. So, but it's just based on the base of your box. So there we go. There's my circle. If you want to sketch it in roughly with your hand and do it freehand, that's absolutely fine. It doesn't have to be absolute perfection. So can you see that? I'm going to come a bit closer just so that you can see. So we're going to draw a clock face on now. And the easiest way to do that is to do your quarters. So 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock, and then your 9 and your 3 o'clock. And then you're just going to pop 2 little dashes, oh, a little bit more evenly than I am, in between. Let's just turn that around. So you're marking in between those quarters twice. Let's just make sure I'm relatively even there. That's not too bad. Okay, so I hope you can all see that. So I've literally just marked on evenly around the edge of my circle 12 points, which would be a clock face. So I did my top and my bottom, my quarters first, and then 2 in between each quarter. Okay, let's see, any comments? Any questions as I'm going? Thank you for sharing, much appreciated. Right, so the next thing, ideally, have you all got a potato peeler like this at home? This is a very, very old one. In fact, I think it was probably my nan's that I've inherited. You can use an ordinary knife. You might have some interesting gadgets if you're crafty for making holes. So you need to make a smallish hole. Okay, so probably safer if you make the hole slightly smaller and slowly get bigger and bigger if you can't get your rods in. So the best way to do it is if you've got a potato peeler, you can push it in and give it a little spin, so near where you want your hole to be. So I hope you can all see that. It's not a massive hole. It doesn't have to be perfection, okay? Absolutely not. So pop the end in, give it a little spin. If you need to adjust where your holes are or where you've done your little dots, you can adjust at this point if you need. You feel it's not quite as even as possible. Oops, that one went a bit off key. Let's go around a bit more. Skewers are quite good for this. If you've got a metal skewer, you can. There we go. So that's what you're going to end up with. This can be reused and reused, this box. So if you've got canes at home, bamboo canes, you could replicate, once you've done the first one, and you could replicate what you're doing. There's a little mango climbing down my hair. He likes to use my hair as a ladder. So, right. So let's pop the tools to one side. So on to our 5-foot willow. So this is called a Blackmore willow. They both are. It's probably the most common variety of willow that you will sort of work with. It's if you've got a basket, it's probably made from Blackmore. So be super careful when you unravel your willow. So this is a long one, and it can sometimes. He's trying to steal my necklace now. He's a very good accomplished jewellery thief, so we've trained him well. So yes, if anyone comes over, they have to be very careful with their jewellery and around Mr. Mango. So you should have, there's 25 rods here, so you've got one for every hole, and we've given you a spare one just in case something goes wrong and you need to replace a rod at some point. So you will need to grab them in tubes. They'll be slightly damp still, hopefully, providing that the weather's behaving itself. And you will need to straighten them out. So you can either run your hands along the rods to make sure that they're straight, or we did in our previous kit, we did a willow heart on here. You can use your knee to break the fibres up of the willow. So I'm going to show you. So you can do this sitting down or standing up, and you can run the fibres just along your knee ever so gently, just to straighten them up. So try and get them as straight as possible. This will mean that you won't have a kind of bowing obelisk. Now you're not going to be able to see the top of my obelisk at this point, but at the end I'm going to take you back and so that you can see how to finish it. So I'm adding in 2 rods into each hole. Now they're going to splay all over the place at this point, and that's absolutely fine. And this is what we use, oh, that little bit of wire for. We're going to tie them up together at the end and make sure that they're all in a nice shape before we start weaving. Oops, Mango's grabbing that one, can you see? Little cheeky man. Has anyone done any willow weaving before? I know we did the heart kit last time. We've done a Mother's Day heart kit, which is on the website still. It's not called that. I think it's just called a purple willow heart kit. So it's a really fun one if you kind of want a nice taster into sort of the beginning of willow weaving. And if you're floristry, it's very fun. Very fun. So we'll put these in. Let's have a look at any comments. We can answer some questions now while I'm doing this. Hello. Super cute. Can I order a kit like this? So ordering the kit, I think the virtual villager might share my link for you. It's on our website, and we have a postal section. So I think it's got a kit postal section on the website, and you can order our sort of array of kits from there. It's £30 this kit. I think it's an absolute bargain for when you see what the kind of willow obelisks are selling for. I would give yourself about 2 hours to complete it, or if you really want to do it leisurely and have a little break, give yourself 3 hours to have a play. It's very therapeutic once you kind of get started. It's slightly addictive, so yes, the array of garden sculptures some of the ladies that come to my classes have. There's a real diverse range of products that you can make with willow. And that's what initially excites me about it. Other than it being so sustainable, it's one of the fastest growing materials, I think. It's such a great material. It really brings me back to earth. So it's lovely. So if you've joined me late, I'm just straightening these out. I'm popping them in the holes that I've made, and then we are going to do some weaving to make this a nice sturdy plant support. And so it's called an obelisk. That's what I call it. It's been soaked here, so we soak this prior to posting. It's seasoned, so it's dried willow. If we were going to give you fresh materials, there'd be a chance that it would grow. So if you put it in the ground to grow your plants up, there's a very large chance that this would start to grow. So it's all seasoned, hence that we have to soak it. If you do happen to dry it out, then if you watch the beginning of this video, you can then see how to re-soak the materials. Someone's made our dragonfly kit. Oh, fantastic. I've made a log basket with a handle. Lovely. Only at class. Yes, it's log baskets and things. They're quite complicated, aren't they? If you've made something like that, so yeah, I think you need sort of one-to-one kind of, or a class kind of environment for that. And I'm hoping this is going to be a really nice, achievable product, that you can all do at home now. So I had a spare piece of willow. I've just popped it on the floor. And if you wanted to be selecting the 24 that you've put in here, you could pick the ones that are the most similar length. So if you've got a short one, you could click that out and use your longer one, if it does happen to be longer. You then need to grab your little bit of wire. So this is a fantastic material. We used it in our previous kits. It's wire coated in paper. I use it for two reasons. It's soft on the hands. We do sell it on the website. It's a great material if you're doing gardening and you want to use it for ties and things. Lovely material for kids. So it's soft on the hands. It's really tactile. It's easy. You don't have to knot it. You can just twist it because it's wire coated in paper, and it blends in really nicely with the willow. So you can actually leave it on at the end if we don't manage to cover it up. So what you need to do, work on a table if you can. Be careful with the next bit. So if you do happen to sort of want to get on a chair, then be super careful. Or you can just gather the materials up as high as you can. So into one hand, you kind of want them to be sitting, in a nice way. You can gather. I'm just working around consistently or evenly, going from one sort of bunch in one hole to the next. I'm going to twist the materials just to make sure that if they have got a natural curve, that they curve in towards you or towards the centre of the obelisk opposed from away. And once you've got them bunched up, there's time to kind of go in and have a little rearrange if you need to. Right, so one thing to keep in mind is to make sure that your hand at the top here, where I'm tying it, is central. So naturally you'll have a tendency to make the obelisk lean towards you. So just push it away a little bit. Make sure that that centre point where you're tying is roughly in the centre of your circle. And then you're going to use your wire to tie it up. So you can just wrap it around a couple of times, and then you're aiming to knot the materials or just twist them together to make sure it's secure. You can then go round and make sure that these rods are sitting nicely. So it does look a bit sort of higgledy-piggledy at this stage, doesn't it? And that's fine. As we're working, it will work its way out and you'll get a much nicer shape. We do run this craft locally, so if you're local to kind of Lincolnshire, we have got some dates in a diary to do this. Also, as you're working around, make sure all 24 rods are hitting the bottom of the box. That just makes it easier sort of later on when you're trying to push it into the ground, just to make sure that it's nicely even and you're not going to have any wonky bottoms. As Mary Berry would say, there's no soggy bottoms here, it's wonky ones. So there we go. So that's looking a little bit more even, isn't it? So as I'm working, you'll notice that the shape will kind of even up. It'll become a little bit more consistent. I'll also take the tie off at the top. So I'm going to do a little bit of weaving. We'll take the tie off, we'll have a rejig, and then we'll carry on weaving so that we can make sure we've got no uprights that are kind of interlocking. So it's another thing to kind of keep an eye on as you're going. I've completely have no idea what Mango's been up to for the last 5 minutes. So he's chewing my top. Right, so the next bit, we're going to start the weaving, and you will need to use 3 or 4 weavers, and you'll need 2 bundles of them. So I've got 4 weavers in each bundle at this point. If you're struggling to weave and the materials are quite tough to bend, you can start with fewer and then just see how you get on. So there's not a massive right and wrong. Ideally, you're looking for the materials to kind of grip the upright. So as I'm starting to work, I'll show you what you need to be looking for, and then you can kind of have a play. So this is called pairing. It's possibly the strongest weave that you'll ever do. And it's the same weave all the way up the obelisk, but you can have a little bit of an artistic license as you're going as to if you're going to fill it all in, if you just want to do a nice thick base. I tend to do a spiral, so I'm going to demonstrate how to do a spiral all the way up to the top for this. So firstly, you're going to put one set of your weavers in behind an upright. So the butt ends, these are the butts where we've been cut off from the tree. They are sitting behind an upright, so there's two reasons for that. Firstly, because it's tidy, and secondly, well, I just think it looks a bit better, doesn't it? So one set's going in there, and then the next set is going in the next consecutive hole, so it's also sitting behind an upright. So we've got one in there and one in the next gap. So once you've done that, you're going to weave with the weavers that are nearest to you. So ideally, I would be stood here at the front, opposed to where I am. But the weavers that would be nearest to you, if you're stood here, would be this set. So this very first set that we put in. So you're going to weave with that. It's naturally going over one rod, and then we're going to push it behind this next rod, and it's going to come out the side. So it's a little bit fiddly to start with, but once you get started, you'll get the hang of it. So I tend to lift that bundle up, and I'm just going to tuck it through. It's going behind one rod, and it's coming out then into the next consecutive gap. Okay, so this set is now my newest, or my nearest set to me if I'm stood here. So I'm going to weave with this one now. So this is going in front of one. It's then going to go behind the next rod. There we go. And we're going to push it down. So as you're working, you can also make sure that you're pushing these nice and snugly. So I'm kind of massaging them so that they're nice and snugly holding these uprights. You want them to kind of grip. Now, this is what I was saying before about using fewer rods to weave with. If you are going to lift it up and down, you ideally, can you see that this bundle, as I'm doing that, is lifting up and down as well? It's kind of coming out of the hole slightly. You need that gripping because you want it really tight and snug. I'm glad that you agree with me, Mango. So you want it to be gripping really tightly as you're weaving, and as you're working round, keep an eye all the time that the rods are gripping, okay, and that if you lift them up slightly, that are you having a little conversation? If you lift the weavers up slightly, you do want those rods that they're kind of gripping around to lift up and down as well. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to join in. So if you get to a point and you're like, oh, it's not gripping anymore, it feels a bit loose, I'm going to show you how to join in a sec. So you're going to join in, I would say, fairly frequently. Almost every kind of other weave, I would start to think about joining in. So I'm just going to do one more. So this is the one that's nearest to me. So that's the one that I'm going to be using next, and that's already going in front of one, and then it's going to go behind the next upright. So as I'm working as well, I will make sure that these uprights are nice and straight and they're in the angle that I ideally want them to be in. So keep looking at each point when you're weaving around it. That's your chance to rejig it and just to check that it's nice and straight and that it's even. It's crucial that you keep a tie on at the top as well. Otherwise, you'll end up with more of a tube opposed to a nice pointy obelisk. So try and keep that on as much as you can. Right, joining in wise. So this is pretty simple. You're going to join in to both of them at the same time. So That's a rule. You have to do that. If you don't do that, then one of the weavers becomes slightly thicker and they're kind of fighting between each other, and then your weave doesn't look as consistent. So we're going to join in with this rod here, and you literally popping your new butt in and it's just sliding under, and then it's going to sit behind, so this upright. So we'll just show you that again. It's going all the way under here, and we're just going to tuck it in. We want it to be nice and neatly behind this upright. So now this bundle is all ready to weave with, so I'm going to carry on weaving with that. It's going in front of one and behind the next little bundle, and then I'm going to join in again here. So I'm joining in with this one. So this is going to run all the way in here. It's going to sit behind my upright, and then I'm going to weave around with that one. So you can see again, I'm still constantly checking that my uprights are nice and straight. I did an extra weave then, and I'm going to add in. So here we go again. I'll show you the add in. Coming out, hiding behind the upright, and then, sorry, someone's ringing me again. And then I'm going to weave with that, so it's going in front of this one and behind the next. So this one's going to join again. It's going in there, sitting behind the upright, and weave again. Now, so you might have noticed that my rods are getting a little bit thinner. Can you see how wispy they are now? So this time I'm going to decide to keep adding every time I weave. So it's very much up to you, but I would especially like this bottom bit to be really nice and thick and sturdy. This is the bit that's going to be pushed into the ground. It's going to be the area that's anchoring it. It's going to be where most of the strain's going to become or happen on the base of the obelisk. So each time I'm adding, or each time I'm weaving, I'm adding. So it's really important that this base is nice and thick and sturdy. Right, so I'm going to keep going now. How many times do you go round? A minimum of 4, I would say. At the very least, a minimum of 4. So 4 rounds of weaving and joining in. Let's say we'll join in every time. Okay, so you can see I've gone round once, and then I just start weaving on top of the previous layer now. So I'm going to just answer some questions while I'm beavering away. Can't see it due to writing on the screen. Can you turn these off? Settings privacy, the virtual as well. Shall I move back a little bit? You might be able to turn the subtitles off if you can't see the tutorial, okay? I'm just going to move back a little bit just to see if you can see that a bit better. Can everyone else see? Can you just let me know? And if I need to go left or right a little bit. So I'm joining in. If you've missed that bit before, I'm just joining in with the rods that I'm weaving with next. We are also demonstrating this live on Saturday. So Mango and I will be on our own Facebook page. We go live on Saturday, every Saturday, providing that it's not too busy in our little shop. And so we'll show you this again, and we'll talk through everything that we've spoken about today. And if you want to have a good look or ask any more questions, then feel free to join us this Saturday. We have covered topics in the last couple of weeks, such as British flowers and why buying British flowers is kind of best. We try and support as many local British businesses as possible. Our kits are also designed with sustainability in mind. So most of the kits are compostable. So if you're making your own postal kits, they are, I think, nearly 100% compostable, our kits. The only time that we're not compostable is if you send sort of a bouquet and it's pre-packaged and it's gift wrapped really. That's when you don't get the kind of we can't offer quite as much compostability. Mango's having a play now. So you can see it's really coming along. I'm on nearly on my third circle now, going round. Just check the comments when you're ready, mate. Oh, right. No problem. Yeah, you can see fine. Lovely. So hopefully if you've swiped the comments away, then you'll be able to see what I'm doing. I'll come forward a little bit. So how lovely does this little rope finish look? It's honestly, this is one of my favourite projects to teach people. It's called pairing, and you get this wonderful product at the end of it. It's, yeah, so exciting. So yes, I was saying we've covered British flowers. This is a British box, so we use British designers as well to design all our packaging and any flyers that you've got inside, even our logos and British designers. The last video we did, which I think everyone needs some tips on, is how to get your flowers in a vase sometimes. So you've got your bunch of flowers from the forest, and what do? You know, and this, I partly did this because I went to a friend's house at the weekend and she hadn't taken her flowers out of the packaging. So there's the whys, the hows to get the length and the longevity out of your flowers. That's our latest video. And we've got lots of kits coming up. We've got summer wreaths coming up, and we're back on here, I think, in a month, demonstrating our next wreath kit. So whilst you're weaving, you can make sure that the rods are gripping nice and tightly as you're weaving. So you can use your thumb to kind of massage around. Just to make sure it's nice and snug. You can then just double check that these uprights, you can see it's getting a really nice consistency now, are upright, that they're straight, all the while you're checking as you're working. So we kind of, I think basket makers use this term of kind of rhythm and flow, and you're looking for that consistency, so that distance between the uprights to be nice and fluid, and then how the rods are moving between each weave or how should I say, each stake, and you're looking for them to fluidly move behind each stake and then come out to the front. So I am on my 1, 2, 3, my 4th round. I am quite quick, so if you haven't managed to keep up with me, that's absolutely fine. It might be worth pausing the video if you're doing a tutorial alongside and you're watching it afterwards, and then you can just catch up. So what do we think so far? What do you think of the product? Comments. Oh, I'm on TV now. Hello. If I'm in your lounge, hello. I can see myself. I'm about 2.5 inches across, so I'm not really sure exactly what you guys can see. I'm literally doing it on my phone because it's the best quality video that I've got in the house. So I did treat myself to a new phone specifically for going live. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. I've nearly finished my last round of weaving. I'm still adding in. You can see me adding in at each stake. Every time I weave with the material, I'm adding a little bit on. I'm never finishing off. I'm never weaving it until the end. Ooh, there's my willow on the floor. So keep adding in. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you feel at this point that your obelisk is slightly wonky one side, so say for instance if I've got to this point and I felt it was a bit lower on this side, you can weave round again just until you get to the sort of lower sides to kind of build it up a little bit. So have a little look at that. If you wanted to do more than 4 rounds, then keep going, okay? I'm not going to keep going because you guys don't want to watch me. Sorry, Mango. You guys don't want to watch me do a load of pairing for the rest of this. Now he's going to eat my necklace. Right, so if you want to thicken your base up, go for it. You've probably got enough Willow in your kit to do a really nice sturdy base. I am now going to do the pairing again, but I'm going to let it lift up gradually. So you could, if you're really, really careful and you think about the distances between your uprights, you could take off your tie at the top. But you need to make sure that you're pulling the willow in. And as I'm going to demonstrate what I mean by pulling the willow in. Stop eating my necklace, please. Right, so we're always joining in at this point. So I'm joining in to each one. And I'm just going to let the willow lift up. So you can see it's just very gradually lifting up, and I'm letting it float in the air like so. So I'm still joining in. So this is where I mean pulling it in. So you can see I've woven around here, and I don't know if you guys can see as clearly as I can, but this distance here, can you see by my fingers? So I've got 4 fingers in there, and this distance here is much bigger. So as I'm working round, what you need to do is pull the upright across a little bit. So we're closing these gaps up. I use this phrase in my class that's called sucking it in. So you need to suck your obelisk in, and you're constantly closing up these gaps. So the one that you're weaving around, you're going to pull it across. You can hold it there while you add your new weaver in, and then weave with that. So I'm pulling it across, hold it there, add my new weaver in. If you happen to order a kit and you are struggling to get the finished, well, if you're struggling at any point, you can feel free to ring me. I'm very happy to do a Zoom with you. We can have a chat just to see how you're getting on. And of course, feel free to share on our Facebook page or our Instagram. So this little gap was a little bit smaller, so you might find that rather than pulling it in, you might just let it sit there. So I just tend to use my fingers as a guide. I'm also using sort of my hands as a guide to know how much materials I'm adding in. So we were talking about whether they were gripping these uprights enough. So you can see if I lift this up, you can see how tightly gripping these materials are. So if you're struggling to get that kind of grip there, go back and add an extra couple in if you need to. It's just lacking materials. So I'm still adding in at every point. Oh, I've already done one there. So I'm adding in at every gap. I'm using my fingers as a guide to check that the distances are the same in between these uprights. Such a simple way to get a gorgeous effect and a really nice, easy, usable product that looks beautiful, doesn't it? You can just use it on its own. It's a great garden sculpture if you don't want to grow anything up it, or you've not got any sweet peas in time. So if you're local to us, we do have an array of bedding plants as well, but we only do local deliveries to those. And we are actually growing our own sweet peas this year, so it's the first time that we're growing our own. It's exciting. There we go. Any questions while I'm doing this? Looking good. Absolutely brilliant. Loving this demo. Thank you. Not as difficult as I thought it really. Brilliant. Lots of tips. Thank you. Mango has officially stolen my necklace. Thank you, Mango. Look, I'll show you what he does. He has completely taken my necklace off. It's impressive, isn't it? So, yes, he's been known to steal nose rings, earrings. Very, very speedy, aren't you? And he has destroyed quite a few of my pieces of jewellery. Right, so I'm doing the same as I have been. I'm still adding in, but I'm closing the gaps up a lot more this time. So I'm sucking those materials across. So if you don't do that, you might end up with this tube structure rather than a nice kind of conical shape. So make sure you can see that I've closed it. So down here I had like 4 fingers in there. Up here I've probably got just about 3. I have got tiny hands. There we go. So I keep adding in, closing the gaps up. Now you will find that the materials are gripping far better up here because you're closing those gaps up so much. And now I'm not going to add in as many materials, or I'm not going to add it in as frequently as I was before. So this is the first time that I'm not adding in. So here we go. I'm just weaving once without adding, and again. I might even do another one so you can see, look how nice and grippy it is. So I'm trying to make sure the distance is okay. There is a little bit of leeway if you need to go back in later, and you can wiggle it up and down. I'll show you some tips on getting a nice kind of structure and circular finish. So now, yeah, I was just going to weave again, and it definitely wasn't as tight as I was hoping it to be. So I'm going to join in. So I think I did about 3 weaves that time before I joined in. So all the while I'm thinking about that consistency between the gaps and sucking it across. Mango's on my camera, so he's pushed it all down. That's not very helpful, is it? Right, it's at this point, let's move you up a little bit. Mango, you might have to hop off. Can you see that okay? It doesn't want to stay. My camera's being a bit naughty today. It doesn't help there's a mango on it. So I'm going to take my tie off. And I'm going to keep weaving, but you need to be all the more mindful now that your tie's off, that you want to avoid this conical shape. Save your tie for later. You want to avoid a tube-like, so keep sucking it in. Sorry, I'm going to keep reminding you that. Keep sucking it in if you're watching this video. Any comments? I made one at Christmas and I did fairy lights. Yeah. Yeah, so lots of people have used these as kind of an alternative Christmas tree, opposed to having a tree. So again, I'm keeping the same pattern. Feel free to ask me some questions. I'm just going to keep weaving. I'm adding a lot less frequently this time. I know you can't see. There's a mango on the camera, that's why. Mango, you're going to have to get off the camera. Step up. Good boy. There we go. It's not a heavy bird on the top now. Let's see. I need to go further away, don't I? Or is that better, closer? So I'm still weaving in the same way. I'm doing exactly what I have done before. Come on, tripod. There we go, that's better, isn't it? Right, but oh, it's flopped down. We're not doing very well in the tripod front. So yes, I'm probably weaving now with 2 to 3 rods. So let's do it this way and then you can see. So I'm weaving with 2 to 3 rods. Can you see there? There's really not a lot poking out. So I'm going to keep weaving in exactly the same manner, with fewer rods, making sure that distance is the same at all times. And you can really keep going all the way to the top of this. Shall I pop it on the floor? Let's go over here. You weren't meant to see this side of the room. This is the messy side. So you can see I'm still weaving. I'm going to keep going now. I'm going to pop it on the floor and just keep going, and then you can see what I'm doing. I'll bring it up to the end. So I'm joining again, and that probably will be my last join. So you can see how close I am from the top, or how near to the top that I am. And that those rods, I'm probably only weaving now with 2 rods, and it's actually going to run out. I'm going to move on to kind of having 1 rod that I'm weaving with, and that's going to get, it's going to be quite tough on my hands at that point. Let's do exactly the same. I've nearly run out of willow now. There is actually loads in this box. I've added, far too much materials for you to have a play with. So it would probably be worth making sure that you do a really nice thick base at the bottom, so that you get the most of all those lovely materials that we've given you. Right, so there we go. Can you see? So I've woven all the way up. You can keep going. I'm not going to keep going, but I could keep going if I wanted to. I've then bundled, these are my weavers, into the top here. So that's all bundled together. And I'm going to use my twine, so the little bit of twine, to wrap round the top. So that's going to be, there we go. Just twist it. You can trim off any excess as well. Okay, so this is a nice little finishing point. If you take your obelisk off the box, save your box for later if you wanted to use it again. And then let's come up to the camera. So you could use one of these uprights. So I tend to use just a nice long one. You're going to wrap it around. So we're just binding all the way round where the tie is a couple of times. And then you can tuck the tip up. So it can be a little bit fiddly. Thank you, Mango. You can tuck the tip through and up, so it's gone all the way through there. It's actually gone through my twine as well. You could use a skewer if you've got a metal skewer at home, so you could push that up through there first, and then you could push your willow through afterwards. So the last thing that I am going to do is go in with some secateurs and just trim off. So if I've got any tips or butts poking out, I'm going to trim those off. While I'm doing that, I'm going to answer any last questions because we're going to round it off in a minute. Very clear image and instructions. Well done. Thank you. What do you do about the bits that's sticking out? There we go. Can you rewatch? So yes, you can rewatch the video at any time. We will also share it on our Facebook page. I'm trimming off anything that I don't like sticking out. Sometimes I leave little bits sticking out, and depending on the kind of overall feel that I'm aiming to achieve with my obelisk. If you have missed anything on here and you want to send me a message, and then we are Blooming Crafty on Facebook. I will go back and answer any comments on here, so I'll try and keep an eye on this feed as well. And failing that, you can have a look on our website. It's bloomingcrafty.com. You will have to go into the shop, and there's an area that's called Postal Workshops at the bottom. Any problems finding the products, I'll send some links on here just to help you out. Yeah, any questions, feel free to give me a ring or a Facebook message. We have attached WhatsApp now to our Facebook page, so that you can easily message me and we can talk if you've got any images of where you're at with your obelisk and you need some guidance. Then yes, I'm always about. We're open 7 days a week. My little shop's always open, so if you're this way and you want to pop in, or if the kit doesn't work for you and you'd rather attend a workshop now that we're out of lockdown, we are holding workshops in our garden. So we've got a lovely little garden workshop. We've got a little pagoda if we have bad weather. So I'm going to stand back now. Any other questions? Lovely demo. Thank you. I did the Willow Heart kit this year. It was great fun. How much do you sell this for? All right, let me just come back to that. Really enjoyed your video. Thank you. So this kit is on the website at £30. You get to make a 5-foot little obelisk, and perfect as a garden sculpture or sweet peas. You get the video tutorial emailed to you. It's on our website. If you want to purchase, you can select a shipping date. So the product actually isn't available until the 13th of March. So that just gives us enough time to make sure that we've soaked materials and things and to get them to you. So if you pre-order now, you won't be able to have it until the 13th of March. If you want it after the 13th of March, then just add a little area in the comment section. So there we go. I can't wait to see your makes. So everyone's is always different. I very rarely make it, a set of something. We do make these ready made as well. So the ones that we make in the shop tend to be about 7 foot high, but we could only cram 5 foot's worth in a box. So yeah, can you believe that came out of that little box? No, neither can I. So we had some fun packing it. So there we go. I hope you've enjoyed. It's been an absolutely delight again to be on the Virtual Village Hall. It's a fantastic platform and network of people. It's lovely to see some familiar faces now that some of you are back. Not March, May it's available. 13th of May. I've lost. Yes, I have no idea what I'm talking about. Really lovely. I think I need have space in our small garden, but I did a dragonfly. Yes, we do a dragonfly kit as well. Thank you ever so much. Happy anniversary to the Virtual Village Hall. It's their first anniversary this year, or today. And yes, thank you ever so much for having me. So I hope you all enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. And we will catch up with you next month with our next summer heart kit. So we'll be doing a wreath heart kit then. So thank you ever so much and take care everybody. And from me and Mango, goodbye.